So something I've been thinking a lot about is the power of this accountability stuff and also its limitations. So when I first started doing the accountability stuff, I was using it to lever myself to talk to a certain number of strangers, and that turned out to work super good. And I was really excited about it. And then I found after a while that there are limitations to that because, for example, if I went out and I was feeling really shitty physically, and I made a commitment to talk to a certain number of people, I would definitely talk with more people than I otherwise would have. But usually I would just give up before I got to my goal and pay the commitment because I'd just be too tired and I'd just be having bad interactions. Just like interactions, sure, but they just weren't worth having. And I was just like, damn, why am I forcing myself? This is not actually accomplishing my goal. And so I ended up giving up a lot. And so I found out that after time, if I was using it, especially if I made a commitment before I even showed up in person to the place where I was going to be talking with strangers, it would be 50-50 that I would even be in a place physically, mentally to accomplish my goal. And so that gave me pause for a while. And yet, I feel like it's still a very powerful technique. The problem is in finding terms, I guess, because I want to use it for more. It's also started to not be enough to just talk with strangers because I want to get laid and I want to do other things. I want to try experiments and different ways of doing things, different ways of approaching scenarios. And sure, I will talk with more people, and that's definitely a really good starting point. If I'm feeling good physically and mentally, and I set a goal to talk with 30 girls or something like that, it's a great night. I always have a lot of fun, but it's not necessarily the same thing as using accountability to make myself get laid, for example, or at least like take opportunities to get laid, because obviously there's a lot in a situation where it's not just my initiative that matters. It's also if they reciprocate, then it's not just under my control. So how do I make accountability goals for things that I can control in a situation where not everything that happens is up to me? And so I've been thinking about that a lot, just like, would it work if, and another thing, so it helps a lot to, I think, retain an open attitude, which is not something I normally do in day-to-day life, or at least not unless I'm trying to socialize. And so I was thinking maybe I could say, be more open, be open, take every chance you can. And also it's kind of too undefined because I think being open is good, but it's not necessarily the only thing at play in my mind when I am trying to accomplish some social goals. It's more complicated than that. And then there's another thing, which is like, here's the thing that I could do pretty easily, which is I could say, I'll just try and get laid with the first person who will let me. And the problem with that is that I am trying to level up my social skills, and that means talking with hotter and hotter people and having success with hotter and hotter people. But the problem with that is that hotter people hotness is relative, even to me. I can't even reliably point to people in the same night and rate their attractiveness. I feel like it's just really relative. I know that there is like a spectrum of hotness from hotter to less hot, and when you put two people next to each other, usually I can say which one is hotter, but it's super relative to who is standing next to who. And so just like I don't like, I could set a rule for myself, only talk with nines and tens, and that would work, except for I don't have a reliable way of measuring nines and tens. It's just like it all blends together. And so, and the reason that all this is important is that if I could reliably measure nines and tens, then I could 1000% lever myself to only talk with nines and tens. I think it's entirely up to how definable the terms are. And because if there's something that's concrete and in definition to me, then I can make myself accomplish it. And if it's not concrete in definition, then I can't make myself accomplish it because it's just some sort of vague thing that I would like to happen, but it depends entirely on context. So I'm trying to work backwards from either work forwards to a place where more terms are defined, so I can use the accountability to lever myself to do more stuff, more specific things. I've been working to try and use it for more stuff. I did some interesting thought experiments last week in the week before about, because I was always using the same amount of money as the penalty if I didn't do the thing. So there would be some commitments that I would make. I'm going to do a workout 5 days this week, Monday through Friday, and then later on just find out it's kind of too inflexible. Sometimes I'll have a bad day physically and I don't want to do my workout, and so it would work better sometimes if I've had more flexibility. And so I've been learning to make the commitments more flexible. So instead of saying Monday through Friday, say 5 days this week, so I have more flexibility where to put my break days. And then also, instead of doing $5 for the whole thing, because if I fail halfway through for whatever reason, then I pay the $5, but then the rest of the week is still unfinished. So now I'm doing, for every day that I don't do it, I will pay $1, and that's a lot more flexible and that works a lot better. And I was also thinking about how the quantity of money that will motivate me is really small. Because at first I was doing $5 for everything, which totally works. But I realized after a while, $5 for some commitments were way bigger than others, and I was still using the same amount of money. It's, to me, $5 is definitely just like, it's a unit of money that feels real. And so if I lost it, I would notice. But then I realized actually there are smaller units of money that feel real to me. And I think the smallest unit of money that feels real to me is 25 cents. A quarter, if I bet I'm gonna talk with 30 girls tonight, and for every girl that I don't, I will pay a quarter. That feels like a real unit of money to me. And if I'm thinking about it that way, then a quarter is definitely an amount of money that I would put in some level of effort to not lose. And usually that's about as much effort as it takes to get me over the hump and into action so that I start talking with people. And so I'm not really sure, just experimenting with it a lot and trying to see. I think that it's really powerful, and the more terms that I can define, the more general power over myself I could have. And it seems to be really useful for hitting maintenance targets and or minimums. So if I like using it for working out or doing a minimum amount of something that I want or need to do, that it's fantastic. It works great for that, and that's a really good starting point. Even that alone would be phenomenal. I want to use it for more. I have an intuition that I could definitely use it for more. And so I'm just trying to experiment with it. I haven't done any experiments where I'm betting people 25 cents per thing that I miss, but I'm gonna do that soon, probably actually tonight. Out, and I'm going to try and talk with a certain number of girls, probably 30 or something like that, and just do like a quarter for every girl that I don't talk to. And I also want to try and do some other commitments, some things that are less only based on my actions that need other people to reciprocate. But I think that I did one a while back where I bet that I was going to get laid that week. I bet $5 I was gonna get laid that week. I didn't get laid, but I definitely thought about trying to get laid a lot more, because I was like, I'm gonna lose $5 if I don't get laid. So I was thinking about it, and that was really useful to me. I normally do not think about trying to get laid. I do, but it's very abstract. And that week, it was very concrete. I was sort of like, damn, I need to try and put myself in situations where I might get laid. And that, I think, is really useful. And so, I don't know. That is what it is.